Your relationship with God, when it happens, whenever it happens, it'll be very personal to you. All it has to do is start with, God, I was having a tough day today. Please, I just need you to lean on.
So after asking Javi where he got his strength from, Anna was witnessing it firsthand. And even though she was raised with religion, this was unlike any church she'd ever seen before.
I would say for me, it was a little hard balancing like religion and social life in school when I first got to school. So like for like the first semester and a half, I didn't really go to church. But like as school went on, I started like going through certain things and I'm like, okay, I really need to like get back into my state, prioritize God, and then, you know, like prioritize other things after that.
Nice. That's beautiful, by the way. For me, I'm like a huge lover of God, and I am like I'm more spiritual than religious. And I feel like as long as we maintain that strong relationship with God, that's all that really matters. And I really do miss going to church, but you know, we obviously can't because it's a pandemic. But I really feel like in this time, like since pandemic has started, my bond with God has really strengthened, and it's almost made me see my worth more as a young woman and find the beauty within myself. Because, you know, we're all around that age where we're kind of looking for outer validation, and even with relationships, we want to be seen as good enough or looked at as good enough, and we want people to like us and to love us. And but for me, as I've started diving more into my relationship, I'm kind of seeing the beauty and worth within myself. And it's not hard when I have a career with my sister, but I will be honest, it was a little hurtful because our album was called Ungodly Hour. It was a little hurtful when a lot of Christians felt it was because we're not religious or anything like that. It was really just a term to say, because it came from the phrase, love me at the ungodly hour, when I'm not at my best, when I'm at my worst moment. And I think for me, as long as you kind of block out the opinions of others and what they think about you, and if they're questioning your relationship with God or your religion, you just kind of got to block out that noise and have your blinders on and really focus on how you feel internally. And right now, I've really been in the happiest moment of my life because of God.
I'm not too much of a religious person. I'm more of a spiritual person. And I think that, you know, coming into college and even coming in this year, I think it definitely has tested that, because a lot of times, you know, you don't dive as deep into a lot of these things because you have a community around you. And coming to college, being alone, and especially I think with this year for African-American people, I think I needed to lean on something a little bit greater than myself. And I think that by far, I think is the most profound thing is establishing that relationship for yourself.
Just to piggyback off that, this is all beautiful and I love this conversation already. So I grew up Catholic and I converted to Christianity when I was 16, and I go to non-denominational church. I'm huge about church, as Chloe knows, because I've taken her. I've been really challenged since 2020 because I went from constantly looking at service online every Sunday to never. Does that make me a bad person? No, absolutely not. Because what I learned in 2020, as much as I love service and I love listening to sermons, and what I learned is really what relationship is. I realized, okay, this is just a season. God will see me through. Let me listen to my worship music. Let me wake up 10 minutes early so I can get my prayer in. Let me journal, do what I know that I need to do to feel that connection, to feel that relationship.
Honestly, I really connect with what Francia was saying. Before I came to college, you know, I didn't really know God for myself. Like, I grew up religious, but didn't really know him for myself. And so I feel like once I got here, it really opened my eyes to the relationship we now have. It's not just something you can throw to the side, you know, and pick up when you want to. And, you know, when my Nana died, that was just really eye-opening. I was questioning God. I was like, why? Like, why would you do this? I loved her so much. I'm like, how can this help me? But I realized that he will never put you through anything you can't handle. He does everything for a reason, and everything is intentional and for your good.
I was going to add, I was fortunate enough to have a mother that would send me like text messages probably like once a week, like with scriptures or with a link to a service or with a worship song, like constantly. And there would be times where, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's incessant, but there are moments where you kind of have to seek out the Lord for yourself. I feel like I'm echoing off of what a lot of people were saying. And I have that resource where I can go back to those text messages.
So I'm pretty chill, but when it comes to business and stuff, I'm like type A and I need everything to be like perfect, or I get really antsy. But I'm learning that I can't plan everything out for myself because God's plan is always greater. We got to do the work too. But I don't know. I don't care what nobody says about my relationship because we're like this. And I feel like, just like you said, in the darkest times and in the toughest moments, that's when your relationship really kind of gets tested.
You know, initially before coming into college, I was a very religious person, but that's because I didn't have a choice to. And I think within that component, because I have to acknowledge my intersections, I am a gay Black man. And a lot of times when it came to this conversation of faith and spirituality, it was more so I didn't find myself within it. I didn't see myself within it. So a lot of times I'd be sad, but I think college offered me that openness of people, I think, in our age bracket that I had not seen before. So it was hard for me to kind of get to the point to where I am now when we're talking about, you know, spirituality and coming to God in some senses, because all I've known throughout my life is that God himself was against me. And so that's one of those things that all of these stories have kind of brought me to, and just like acknowledging those intersections and the conversation of faith itself.
So I think one of the things that really helped me is I'm African American and South Asian, but I'm African American and I'm also Muslim. And especially at college, a lot of American college life is not exactly in line with Islam in general, the boyfriend-girlfriend culture, the experimental phases, that's not acceptable. And especially when you feel like an outsider at all times, it's extremely important for you to have that foundation, for you to be confident in it, and then for you to have like a strong base of people that share the same values as you. So not necessarily within your same religion. Like I have some amazing Christian friends that help me to practice, that encourage me to practice. And some of them are far more welcoming in some of those spaces than in some of the other Muslim spaces that I should belong to. So it's difficult, but like I said, like learning about it academically has done so much.
Everyone's relationship is different. Everyone's look different. You know, sometimes even meditating, just sitting down with your legs crossed quiet, that's a form of prayer. Everyone's form of prayer is so different.
Yeah. That's really nice. And God understands, God sees you. As long as you're a good person, God sees that, and that's all that really matters. And share love and share your gift that he blessed you with. That's all you really have to do.